Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how I was able to create this photo manipulation just like what you're seeing on the screen. And we are starting right now. We're going to start by creating a Canva. In this case, we are going to be using 2000 by 2000 pixels, and I want to hit on create. The first thing we need to do is to bring in our background. In this case, it's going to be this image right here, and I'll just go ahead and hit on OK. Firstly, I want to go ahead and rename this layer so that I will be very organized with my work. And now I want to come over to the adjustment layer of this background and select color balance, and I want to go ahead and clip it to the background. This time around, I want to make the cyanish higher and increase some of the blue. Perfect. And the next thing we can possibly do is to bring in the main objects of our design. In this case, it's going to be this woman right here that's ready to fight. I want to go ahead and resize it by holding down the shift key. In this case, you're going to resize it to your taste. There is no rules to this. And I want to place it somewhere between here. I can even still decrease the size at this point, and we're going to see later on in the video. Like this is okay, and just like as I did before, I want to come out to the adjustment layer and select color balance. Still go ahead and clip it to the woman. In this case, I want to make it more cyanish, and at the same time increase the blue to color balance everything. Okay, like this is perfect. Firstly, I want to go ahead and bring in the giant rat. Okay, we're gonna have this like this, and go ahead and resize it. Make sure the woman layer is above the rats. Okay, and take this color balance and place it above the woman, and always click it by holding down the Alt key and hit here. Okay, this is the rats and this is the woman. We just want to be organized. Ctrl+0 to have the full screen. And these rats, I want to place it somewhere between here and decrease the size. And as well, place it somewhere between here. Still go ahead and decrease the size like this. Okay, and end it somewhere between here. Okay, here is okay. I want to go ahead and hit on the good sign. And again, I want to go ahead and bring in the second rat. The rat should be all in line so that we can group it later on. Okay, this is the first rat and this is the second rat right here. I want to go ahead and resize the rat like this. Still go ahead and resize it. And I want to paste it somewhere here. So go ahead and resize it a little bit. And I want to make it stand here. It's ready to attack, and hit on the good sign. I still need to go ahead and bring in the third rat. In this case, it's going to be this one right here. And resize it. This one is going to stay somewhere here. And I can still go ahead and maybe rotate it somewhere here like this and resize it very well. Place it between somewhere here. I can first try the flipped horizontal. If it's going to work, that is not going to work, so I still need to leave it as it is and resize it just like this. Rotate a little bit. Okay, hit on the good sign. Like I said before, make the rat to all be in the line in the way we can able to group it later in the video. Now I still need to go ahead and bring in the fourth rat. Go ahead and resize it. This time around I'm going to put it somewhere here. Still go ahead and resize it like this. You can as well rotate the rat like this. Decrease the size a little bit. Okay, and hit on the good sign. I want this rat right here to be above this other one. And firstly, I want to make this to be in line with the rats. Okay, now I can, perfect. Like this is okay. I want this to be at the front, and I can decrease the size as well. Just to be somewhere like this. Hit on the good sign and make this one to be somewhere here. Like this little bit. Okay, perfect. Now I can go ahead and bring in the last rat, which I put to be the fifth, and I'm going to first hit on the good sign, and I want the rat to be among other rats layers. Decrease the size, drag it to this part, still go ahead and decrease the size just like this. I want to make it to be above these other rats right here. Okay, somewhere in between here. We can try to see if we can rotate the rat a little bit. Okay, perfect. And can decrease, hold it down the shift, decrease the size, just like this. Or we can even make it to be somewhere here and decrease the size as well. Okay, or somewhere here. This is gonna make more sense. Hit on the good sign. Okay, now they are all ready to attack the woman in question. Something like this. Okay, now I want to go ahead and select the rat layers like this and hit on Ctrl J from my keyboard to group everything. And this group, I can just go ahead and rename the group to be rats. And now what I can do is to go back to the adjustment layer and come back to the color and balance. Clip the adjustment layer to the rat. I want to hit on clip, and now just as we did before, want to make the color to be cyanish and increase the blue as well to color balance everything. Okay, perfect. That is okay. This is already the first step of this video. Now let's go ahead to the second step. Now what we can possibly do is to go ahead and bring in this cloud right here with a bit. And now I want to go ahead and increase the size of the cloud like this by holding down the shift, or you can just reform it like that and it's going to change in shape, but it doesn't really mean. Okay, hit on Ctrl+0 to have the full screen, something like this. Okay, and I want to go ahead and hit on the good sign. Just as we did before, I want to go ahead and rename it to always be in control of our layers. And what I can do right now is to go ahead and come back to this adjustment and come back to color and balance. Clip it to the cloud and want to increase the cyanish. Okay, and still go ahead and increase the blue. Increase the cyanish a little more. increase the blue just like this. And once we have it like this, I want to go ahead and add a layer mask. Okay, hit on the layer mask and hit on B from your keyboard and make sure the foreground color is set to black. And this time around we can increase the opacity to be like 60 something, and we want to erase some of the parts of the cloud just like this. Erase this part as well, this part. And now I want to go ahead and decrease the opacity to like 40 something. I want to erase most of the parts. We can even go ahead and increase the size of our brush. Go ahead and decrease the opacity once more to like 30 something, and we want to cancel some of the cloud away from the background just like this, just like this. This part, decrease the brush size, and I want to increase this part right here. I don't want this leg to be showing. Increase the opacity of the brush to be like 60 something and paint over the legs like this. I don't want the legs to be showing. And the same thing is going to apply here like this. Decrease the brush size as well, still decrease it, and the same thing is still going to happen to the side. Partially, it can be partially showing but not fully. I want it to be as if it's coming out of the cloud. Okay, that is okay. Now what we can possibly do is to choose the black color, okay, and we want to sharpen the face. By doing that, we can just go ahead and increase the sharpness of the brush to be like 80, and want to paint over their faces. Want their face to be very clear with less cloud, just like this, and some part of their body, and this face as well, the ear, this face as well, this hand, this part can still show up, this part can show up as well, little downside, okay, these parts. Decrease the size of the brush more, and I want like this hand, and if it's too sharp we can just paint over it again like this, and this part as well. Increase these parts as well, this part. Change the brush color, increase the size, and paint over here. Okay, like this. Okay, now I want to decrease the opacity again of the brush, decrease the brush size to like this point, and just paint over here like this. Okay, now it's as if they're inside the cloud. This part as well, I want to remove most of these parts. Okay, and this part as well. These parts, not all, but like this. Okay, decrease the brush size, remove some of these parts, and remove some of this part as well. Okay, now click on the layer. I want to go ahead again and bring in this layer right here. Okay, and firstly hit on the good sign. Now I can still go ahead and name it to something like road, just to be organized. And I want to come over to the blending mode and come over to soft lights. Okay, just like this. And to this road, to this cloud and road that we just brought, I will go ahead and add layer mask. Okay, selecting the layer mask and select and hitting B from my keyboard to have the brush tool. I can just go ahead and remove these parts. Okay, remove these parts right here. Decrease the opacity of the brush, and you can still go ahead and remove some of these parts just like this, and as well some of these parts just like this. But mostly where these are objects, our main object is standing on, just like this. And I can hit on V and try to place these our main objects to the last part that we can possibly paste it on. Okay, I'm going to leave it like this. Like this, okay. And the next thing we can possibly do is to go ahead and bring in these skeletons right here. Firstly, I want to hit on the plus sign, and we can even make this skeleton to be above everything. Okay, and I'll just rename it to be like bones. And what I can possibly do is to come out to the object selection tool and draw a rectangle over the skeleton, the first part. And once it selects everything, wait a little bit for Photoshop to do that work. I don't know why it's taking long this time around. And once it selects everything like this, I want to right click and come over to layer via copy. This time around, this part is on its own layer, and I want to select the whole layer again and still draw the right angle over this other part. Still wait for Photoshop to do their work. Don't know why this time around is taking some parts. That is not the way I need it to be. I want you to select everything for me, please. Okay, let's wait a little bit. I don't know what's wrong with my computer. It's somehow slow. And once it's like this, I want to go ahead, right click and come over to layer via copy. Now they are on their own layer, and the main layer, I want to go ahead and delete it so we can be left with these two parts. Take the move tool and I want to drag this to this side. Okay, and once I drag it to this side, I want to hold down the control button and try to flatten this skeleton right here just like this. By holding down the control button is very important. And right now I can go ahead and increase it more. Even increase it like this, and still hold down the control button again and flatten the skeleton just like this. And I want to repeat the same thing to this part. I want to drag it here. Okay, I can even first rotate the skeleton, and now hold down the control button. I want to try to flatten the skeleton to the background. Just like this. Just like this. Okay. And what I can do is to hold down the Alt button or Option on your Mac, and I want to drag the skeleton to duplicate the layer just like this. And the first layer, I can even move it more front. And the second part, I can make it to be like this. And what we can do right now, since we have total of 4 to 3 layers, I want to go ahead and select the whole layers of the skeleton and hit on Ctrl G from my keyboard to group everything. And the group, I'll still go ahead and name it to be like bones, to be organized with my work. And what I can do right now is to hit on the layer mask. Okay, I'm masking the group of the bones. Right now, I want to select my brush tool by hitting on B. and make sure the foreground color is set to black, and the opacity we can go ahead and increase it to be like 100, maybe the flow to be 20 something this time around. Decrease the brush size, and I want to try to remove the harsh parts firstly, the harsh parts on the skeleton like this, just the harsh parts. Okay, not too much of the harsh parts, just like this. Okay, that part's okay. Okay, and the same thing is going to apply to this part right here. Let's remove only the harsh parts of the skeleton like this, and as well these parts, and this part as well, and this part as well. Okay, now we can go ahead and decrease the opacity to like 30% and just try to color over it again as if we are removing, but this time around we are blending it to the background, to the foreground, just like this. Okay, nice. Okay, and what we can do right now is to choose the group that we just created. Okay, and we want to come over to adjustment layer and come over to color balance. Make sure to clip the color balance to the bones, and this time around firstly you want to make it more cyanish and add more blues. We are just trying to balance it to the background. Okay, perfect and perfect. The next thing we can possibly do is to go ahead and create a new layer. Once we have a new layer like this, we want to take the brush tool, okay, and we want to select maybe like this color. Hold down your shift and left click this part to choose the color. Now I can go ahead and increase the size of my brush. The opacity right now is 30% and the flow is 20%. I want to go ahead and add some smoke. Okay, some smoke to this, our skeletons, and as well some smoke to the edges, just like this. Okay, okay, perfect. Once we have it like this, the next thing we're going to do right now is to go ahead and create a new layer. It's going to be above everything. Hit on B to have your brush tool, and this time around we are going to select the red color. Okay, we want to make the color of this rat to be very red, as if they are very angry, like bright red. Hit on OK. I want to hit on Z from my keyboard and increase the size of my canvas just like this, and hit on B again to have the brush tool and resize it by holding down the Alt key and right click, drag to left, something like this. You can still go ahead and decrease it. Hold down the space bar to navigate the canvas just like this, and I want to go ahead and hit just once. It's not sharp. Hit on Ctrl Z. Go over to the opacity and make it to be 100%. Go over to the flow and make it to be 100%. Now I want to click just once, and here too I want to click just once. Ctrl Z, shift the brush a little bit once. Okay, and this one as well, I can still hit on Z to make it more big. Hit on B to have my brush to decrease the size a little bit, and hit on once. And as well here, hit on just once. Ctrl Z, hit on once. And here, hit on once. Ctrl Z, decrease the size of the brush. Hit on once. Hit on once right here. And this one as well, hold down the space bar and drag it the way you can be seeing it. Just hit on once. Increase the size of your brush. Hit on 1. Ctrl Z. Increase the size of the brush and hit on 1. Okay, and here hit on 1 as well. Now Ctrl plus 0 to add the full screen, just like this. I'm not satisfied with this. Ctrl Z, and as well I'm not satisfied. Okay. Now all the eyes are red. And what we can do again is to come back to this woman. I want to hit on view. This woman right here, this is the layer. And now hit on Z. Want to increase the size of our canvas, just like this. Hold down the space bar to navigate your canvas like this. Now I want to come over to the lasso tool. And once I have the lasso tool like this, I want to select this word, just like this. I want to make that glow effect on this word. Okay, just want to select only this word like this. Come over here and here, just like this. And what we can do in selecting the woman, right click right here and say layer via copy. Now we're going to have it on its own layer. If Ctrl plus 0, firstly rename this layer to be sword. And once we've done that, now what we can do is to double click on this sword to have the layer styles. Okay, and firstly I want to come back to the drop shadow, or the first thing you can possibly do is to come back to the color overlay. Hit on the color overlay, but there is something we are not doing right here. Cancel. The sword need to be above the woman. That's the only way we can have the glow effect. This one should be below the sword, like this. And this color balance should be clipped to the sword. Okay, just like this. We've loved the color balance of this woman. We can still go ahead and add another adjustment. Okay, color balance, clip it to the woman, sanish, just as we did before, and blow, just to make it to match the background. Okay, perfect, like this. Okay, and now we can go over to the sword. Now that we have it above the woman, can go over to the sword, double click on the layer to have the layer style, come back to the color overlay right here, hit on color overlay, and now we're going to have that glow effect. The color should be 100%, and come back to the attack glow. Okay, hit on the attack glow and make sure you're selecting this same color right here. Select that bright yellow. That bright yellow right here. Hit on OK. You can increase the size and the spread, just like this. Okay, and come back to the drop shadow. Hit on the drop shadow, and I want the color as well to that light yellow. Okay, hit on OK, and increase the size just like this. If it's too much, you can increase the spread. Okay, like this. Okay, but or if you don't need the drop shadow, you can just remove it and make the glow to be like this. And come over to the inner shadow as well and do the same thing. Come over to the inner glow, and on the inner glow I want to select that bright yellow. Okay, hit on OK. Okay, like this already okay, but I'm not so satisfied. And we can go back to the inner shadow and choose that bright yellow as well. But the only thing I'm missing is the drop shadow. I need that drop shadow. Like this is too much. Hit on the drop shadow. Decrease the size of the drop shadow. This is spread. We don't need the spread and we don't need the distance. But I just need the size to spread out. Exactly. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. I want to spread it out like this. Okay, now I can go ahead and hit on OK. Now we have that glow sword of which you want to use to cut this rat. And now what we can do is to hit on this woman once more. Once we hit on this woman, we want to create a new layer. No, let's delete that. Hit on this color balance and create a new layer. Ctrl Z and create a new layer just like this. And once you have this new layer, we want to hit on B from keyboard. Okay, and make it to be default color. We want to select black this time around. The opacity can be 100% and the flow can be 100%, and let's give it a try. Right now these lights are coming from this side, meaning the shadow is going to be on this side. We want to draw just, I want it to be straight. Okay, this is how I need it. Now I can go ahead and reduce the opacity of the shadow just like this. Okay, I can still go ahead and come over to the filter and come over to blue. Select geisha blue. It's too big to make the shadow to disappear. Okay, something like this. Something like this, okay. Something like this, okay. Hit on OK. And still decrease the opacity a little bit. Just okay, we just need that shadow like this. I want to create a new layer. Always the brush tool. Take my brush tool and right now want to decrease the brush size. Okay, still decrease the brush size. Hit on Z, the canvas just like this. Hit on B once more and want to hit somewhere here just like this. Okay, this is perfect. And the same thing, we want to do it to the side. Okay, and now hit on Ctrl+0. Okay, now they are at least touching the ground. Decrease the opacity once more. Okay, and paint over here. Paint over here like this. Okay. Okay, and decrease the opacity. Hit on Z. Now let's zoom out. Okay. She's touching the ground. It's looking like this. Since the light is coming from this part, it's going to be reflecting on this side right here. And now, since there is this sword, this glowing sword right here, we need some of the reflection on the background. Okay, and I want to come back to the top layer and create a new layer, or better still, delete this layer. Just come over to the adjustment layer and select solid color. I want to select that bright color of the sword. I was something like this, very bright color, just like this, and hit on OK. Selecting the layer mask I want to go ahead and hit on Ctrl plus I to invert the color, and hit on Ctrl plus 0 to have the full screen, hit on B to have my brush tool, and then increase the size of the brush tool. And what I can do again is to decrease the opacity and the flow of my brush to something like this. And before then, there is something we need to do. Ctrl plus I. Let me invert this color again, and I want to decrease this opacity so that we will not have that sharp effect. Decrease it, still go ahead. Okay, something like this. Okay, and now hit on Ctrl plus I again to invert the color. Choosing our brush tool, I can go ahead and paint some of the reflection of this word right here. Okay, it's going to be reflecting all to this point, all to this point, all to this point. And what I can do is to decrease my brush size. Okay, decrease the brush size. Still go ahead and decrease the brush size to something like this, and increase the opacity to be like 50 something, and want to have some light here. Okay, see, this is the hand, there's going to be that sharp light. And now increase the brush again and decrease the opacity, make some light to be here. The lights of this word is still going to be here all the way to the side, the way to the side. Okay, and the reflection is on the right side. And what we can do again is to select this woman. Okay, once we select this woman, we want to come back to the adjustment layer and select levels. Once you select that level, it's already clipped to the woman. Want to first darken the parts like this, and as well remove some of the highlights. Okay, in a way it's going to be something like this, because there's no light coming from this side, the light is only coming from this side, and the only light we're going to have here is the reflection of this word right here. Now that we decrease the size to be like this, what you can do is to select the layer mask of that levels. Take your brush tool, okay, hit on Z, and now select brush tool again, decrease the size, still go ahead and decrease the size to something like this, decrease the size to something like this, and make sure you're selecting black as the color. Okay, increase the size of this brush and select black as your color. We want to add some light here. Ctrl Z, it's still not showing up. Increase the flow like this. I want to add some light here. Okay, the lights, some light here. This part, this part, this part, and this part, obviously. Okay, and this part, this part, and this part, on the hand, this hand right here, here, here. Still going to be touching here. Still going to have the light here. This part, okay. We touched here before. This part of the face, this side of the hair. Okay, maybe little to this part, but this part is already dark. Hold down the space bar and to something like here, 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 something like that, something like this. Okay, here and here. Ctrl plus 0 to zoom out. Now decrease the opacity and fade it down, just like this. Now we have some parts. Hit on Z to see. Okay, just some light. Okay, we are seeing the light here, the reflection a little bit. Now Control plus 0 to have the full screen. Perfect, perfect and perfect. And what we can possibly do is to come back to the first layer, hit on Shift, Control, Alt, and then press E to have all our design on a single layer. And I want to go ahead and convert it to smart objects. Once I convert to smart objects, I want to come out to filter and come out to camera raw filter. Okay, I don't know why my laptop is slow today. I want to hit toggle on this to be seeing the before and the after. And we want to start with the light. Add some exposure first. Add some contrast. Okay. Maybe some highlight. Add some shadows. We don't need whites. I need some black. Okay. Come back to the color. I want to increase the temperature to something like this. Okay. Just maybe something like this. I don't want the design to be too glow. I want to have that kind of cinematic color, just like this. Decrease the saturation, but not too much, and increase the yellow a little bit like this. Come back to the effects. I want to increase the texture. Okay, and increase the clarity as well. Okay, the clarity and more of vignette. Okay, more vignette like this. And we don't need the curve, we don't need color grade. Just go back to the details and maybe increase the sharpness to something like this. Before and the after. Before and after. I prefer the after. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit on okay. This is what we just created. This is our beautiful design. Hit on Z to zoom out. This is what we just created. It turned out to be good. The lights coming from here. Okay, and this reflection, this world right here. So this world just created, and this is another version of it. Still the same design. Okay, this one look more cool, and this is the first one right here. Always the same design, but just little changes to the background. This was the first that I created, and I created this one again. And for this video, I recreated this. These are the design. I hope you learned something from this video, guys, and if you do, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up so that whenever I upload another video, you will always be the first person to be notified. And having said this, I'm going to see you in the next video. Cheers, peace out.